Okay, Chair, you're live on YouTube whenever you're ready.
Hello, afternoon everyone. Hi, it's the 9th of January, it's the executive meeting. We've got a bunch of stuff to go through. The first point of today is asking for apologies for absence. We've got a note of Mick Saunders, who's the chair of the Economic Development, Environment and Infrastructure Scrutiny Panel. Any other apologies? Hi, Janet.
Chair, can I just make a comment before you go to the agenda, please? I would like to thank Councillor McCabe for his prompt response to the situation in Thorntree Ward to assist with the rolling out of the COVID vaccines in Thorntree GP surgery. The entrance to the building was dangerous, particularly for older people, due to the ice and frost. I got in touch with Councillor McCabe to raise my concerns, and due to his swift action, I was advised that gritting would be carried out immediately that evening and followed up the next day. So on behalf of myself, the local GP, Dr Nanda, and local residents, I would like to say a big thank you to Councillor McCabe and all of the staff involved. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to make this statement.
Okay, great. Thank you, Janet. And I'm sure we'll make a note of that and record it. That expression of thanks to Dennis and obviously all the staff who did that. Fantastic. Thank you. Any other apologies received for today? Anybody cannot make it, let us know.
None through me, Chair.
Okay, good. We'll take that as nobody. Any declarations of interest before we proceed? Okay, good. Thank you. Next, number 3, the minutes of the last meeting, which was the 22nd of December. I think everybody present will have received a pack and looked through the minutes. Does anybody don't think they're a good record of what we discussed and debated on the 22nd of December? Yes, Janet, please.
Can I just raise something at the minutes? It's around the Transporter Bridge working group that was going to be established. I just want to know, has that been established yet? I know he's involved in it. And one of the reasons I'm asking is, at the last Corporate Health and Safety Committee, we were setting up a subgroup as well to look at that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, interesting question. I'll answer that. So basically, the working group or the steering committee or whatever we want to call it, yes, it's all the steps have been taken. The founder members are Mika Smile, the exec member for Cultures and Communities and Education, and also a local historian and academic, Dr. Tosh Warwick, who is absolutely passionate about all things Middlesbrough, especially Transporter Bridge. And then those two are looking now through the makeup of the meeting, of that group, what people maybe should be on it, who should be represented, how much do we bring in other local authorities like Tees Valley Combined Authority, Stockton Council, and they'll be publishing some thoughts very soon, I think within the coming days, certainly this week. So that hopefully answers your question, Janet. More info to come. If that's done and dusted, then we'll go straight on to the first bit of business, which is item 4, which is the final report of the Economic Development, Environment and Infrastructure, the Teesside Crematorium service response. I'd like to invite Brian Hubbard as the Vice Chair of the Scrutiny Panel to make his report.
Thanks very much, Chair. And as you've stated from the outset, Councillor Saunders, I'm deputising for him today. He has sent his apologies. This was a short review to examine any potential impacts of bereavement services offered by neighbouring local authorities and those provided by Middlesbrough Council at Teesside Crematorium. The panel began its review in February 2020, but the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdown impacted the panel's investigation significantly. The panel did agree, however, that it was worthwhile producing a short report on its findings to raise awareness on this vital service for Middlesbrough. The terms of reference are set out on page 40 on item 4. The conclusions are on item 28 on pages 45 and 46, and the recommendations, which there are 4, are on item 29, also on page 46. I would like to submit this report to the Executive for consideration and approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Brian. Do any exec members have any questions of Councillor Hubbard's report there? No?
There's
Okay.
one,
Chair, I believe
There's
Councillor
Sorry,
Davis.
apologies. Dorothy Davis, go ahead.
I would just like to say I found this report very interesting to read. And one of the recommendations that I feel are very, very important and would like to really support is that we're going to check and look at this every 6 months, and people are going to come back and report to the scrutiny panel, which I totally agree with. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. Was there anybody else that I couldn't see? I can't see everyone's face. Would anybody like to reply or respond to Brian's report? Okay, in that case, I'll ask Dennis McCabe, Councillor McCabe, to who's the exec member responsible for this area, to provide a response, an official response to Brian's points.
Thank you, Chair. Today I would like the exec to approve the service response to scrutiny. The 4 points stated, as Councillor Hubbard has said, on page 16 of the report, 6 monthly updates, which is greatly needed, direct crematorium service, new curtains for St. Bede's and St. Hilda's, and car parking arrangements. It's short and sweet, and I ask for the executive to approve this service from scrutiny. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Do any exec members have any questions or comments to this statement there? Okay.
Sorry, Chair, Councillor
Sorry,
Hubbard.
Brian. It's Brian. Sorry,
Thanks.
Brian. I
Thanks,
couldn't
Chair.
see you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure Councillor McCabe would totally agree with me. The hard work and effort by Jeff Field and his team, his management team, they put a real lot of vision on improving the Teesside crematorium. We now have Kirkleatham crematorium that's opening in 2014, and also Stockton Council have also got one. So it will have a financial impact on our crematorium. But the magnificent improvements that's been made in the past three years under the guidance of Mr. Field is surely welcomed by everyone in Middlesbrough when they're saying goodbye to their loved ones. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, nice words, Brian. Thank you. So can I ask everyone to first of all note the comments and statements of both Councillor Brian Hubbard and Councillor Dennis McCabe. I'm going to ask the exec to vote on this. People in the exec let me don't agree. I want to vote against the ACTA proposed action plan. Okay, that's nobody. Does anybody in the exec want to abstain from this vote on the action plan? No. Okay, so that's going ahead. Thank you for that. That takes us on to point 5, action point 5, which is the local cycling and walking implementation plan. Linthorpe Road corridor, and Councillor Ashley Waters is going to give us this report. Please go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. Is my sound coming through okay?
It is, Ashley.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right. So what we're looking for today is to improve cycle infrastructure along Linthorpe Road corridor as in line with the report. Now, this is something that I've been pushing on for a long time. I think it's really important that we improve our infrastructure coming into and out of the town. And what we're looking to do with this report exactly is to remove the car parking along Linthorpe Road to make it into cycle lanes, safe cycle lanes and protected cycle lanes for our cyclists to be able to access the town. this is just one small part of this. However, it's needed to link up the rest of the town so we can improve the green infrastructure throughout the town and link up into this. It is a really ambitious project, and we've got help from the TV with this. And what we're looking for is just basically for you to approve it so that we can start this work. It meets a number of objectives for the council. It improves the safety for the users, reduces accidents. We need to make sure that our bikes are protected, and it encourages them to do it. And I think if people see that we're making that effort to actually improve the cycle network, it will really encourage people to bike. It needs to be more pedestrian friendly, obviously. And I know that there might be some kickback with the car parking spaces come, but we have a number of car parking spaces just around the corner, and there is more than ample spaces within the town itself to be able to do this. It will support the local economy, it'll support local retail and leisure services, just improving the facilities for the short journeys we've got, and hopefully reduce congestion along that road as well. If we can get more cars off the road and encourage people to use bikes, it can only be a good thing. So yeah, I just think it'll help the area immensely. Any questions?
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions from exec first of all? Exec members to Councillor Waters. I think Mika was first.
It's just a comment, if that's okay. Obviously, there's been a huge climb in the number of cyclists and not buying bikes, and I think we need to do whatever we can to make the road safe as possible for that purpose. And I also think it looks a lot smarter, and it'll also increase overall safety. So in the report, it's just there's been 37 accidents between 2015 and 2019, and I think it'll help to improve overall safety too. So well done, and I look forward to it coming into play.
Thank you, Mika. Dennis McCabe was next. Please go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor, could you tell me how many are you going to provide a bicycle shelter, some kind of storage, and how many units you will provide, please?
It's definitely something that needs doing, and it'll be built in as part of the whole town centre plan. It will be coming, it will be forthcoming. I don't have an exact number for you right now, but it is something that we'll be doing and making sure that there's adequate facilities that want to be able to do this, to be able to be in the town and keep their bikes safe, to be able to leave the town again.
Okay, so thanks for that, Dennis and Ashley. So that's a point we need to clarify to everyone on this call and the public later, perhaps with some quick comms, on the cycle storage. I think if Dennis is finished, I think Dorothy Davison was next with a comment or question.
I'd like to comment on this report. I think it's absolutely excellent that we're going to have this facility, but could we just look at the other areas we have where we have cycle lanes? Because lots of the cycle lanes, the markings for them are actually wearing off and they haven't been redone. I've noticed this, especially heading into town from our area up Nunthorpe and through Martin down, and they'll be able to come onto your area at Linthorpe Woods, which will be safe. But could we make sure that the route to there is also covered within this, please, Councillor Waters?
Thank you, Dorothy. I'll make sure that we pass it on the existing routes, and obviously it's going to help link up with other routes as well. So yeah, I think it's something that we absolutely need to do, yes.
Chair?
Yes, that's Anthony's voice, I guess. Can't see him. Please go ahead.
Yes, please, Chair. I mean, I would like to just openly say how pleased I am to see this paper coming forward, and for us to recognise that investment is coming into the town, especially up the Linthorpe Road area. You know, it's been well noted by the public for a number of years now that the centre of town seems to be deteriorating, or constantly deteriorating. So to see some physical and visual improvements up that area of Middlesbrough is really encouraging. In addition, though, what I would just like to say is, I know this is specifically for one part of Middlesbrough, but just to encourage my colleague, Councillor Waters, to take a similar approach to other areas of the town too. You know, the infrastructure that we need to see improving in Middlesbrough is going to be critical for any future development and growth that we see as a town. So can we just make sure that we take a similar approach to other main roads and and critical areas of travel right across the town. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Absolutely. I think what this is the critical starting point for that. I think you have to start somewhere. And if we start with this infrastructure coming into the town, it's something that we can branch out and grow throughout the town. But I think that the absolute critical piece is getting this bit of infrastructure in, makes it better, it makes it easier to access our town centre. And I genuinely believe that we win by doing this.
Great, thank you. And I think Chris Hobson, Councillor Hobson, would like to say something. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Waters, my question is that loading and unloading is going to be a bit of a problem. How are we going to police this?
Thank you, Councillor Hobson. Absolutely. The mass majority of these businesses and establishments along Linthorpe Road have side access. There is plenty of side streets. It's something that I looked at very closely when we were doing this, and I think it's really important that we encourage the businesses to use the side streets, to use the places that are appropriate for loading and loading. Because right now it is being done on the street itself. It's something that really isn't acceptable to block or congest the town up when there is spaces. The spaces behind the majority of these buildings, the spaces to the side of the majority of these buildings. And I think the right way to do it is to encourage businesses to use this side access. Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's all the exec members. I know there's at least one non-exec member who'd like to speak. So if all the exec members are done, please, could Councillor Ron Arundel speak up?
Thank you, Chair. Let me come from a point of view that people may think I'm anti-cycling. That's not the case. In fact, in the not too distant past, I tried to start a business making cycle parking frames. So I'm not against cycling, but I have some worries about this system insofar as the effect on the businesses on that stretch of road. I want us to have a cycle lane driving past a load of empty shops. That's a worry to me that this may happen. All these shops are no doubt struggling anyway, and if you do anything to deter people from visiting those shops, it might be the end of the story for a lot of them. So that's a concern. On that stretch of road, it's proposed we have one bus stop. Now, I can see the point of that regarding allowing a cyclist to go. Now, can you tell me if people get off that bus, do they get off across a cycle lane? Could that be a danger thing if people get off a bus into a cycle lane? And the other thing is, it's been mentioned by Councillor McCabe, it's end of journey provision, which is a big thing. I was heavily involved with the cycling fraternity a lot of years ago, and that's always been the case. People come into the town centres or come into anywhere, and at the end of journey, there's no facilities for them. Councillor McCabe has mentioned it, and I think it really needs looking at. There's no point of people will not ride a bike into the town if there's no, when they get to the end of the journey, there's no way for them to securely leave their cycle. And I mean securely, not just fasten up to a rack. So if we can address these worries and concerns I have, I think there might be something we can do. So thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Councillor Arundel. Yeah, if I can address the 3 points one by one. So the first one was to do with I'll go provision first. Provision first in town, absolutely. I can see where you come from with that. But it's something that it's part of the wider town strategy. It is something that will be built into the wider town strategy as we develop the town going forward. And it's obviously, it absolutely has to be done to encourage people. You're totally right. If there isn't the facilities there, then we're not going to be able to encourage people to do it. So that'll be done along with a wider strategy and a wider approach. Secondly, with regards to the bus stop, all buses are clearly marked now for cyclists not to undertake on the left-hand side. So again, I totally get your safety concern with that. But with it being a specific cycle lane, the bus drivers and the bus companies are aware that this is there. They are aware that this is coming, and it's something that both cyclists and bus drivers will be obviously ultra cautious about. So I'm hoping that would negate the impact. With regards to the businesses struggling, I get what you're saying, but a lot of these car parking spaces are abused by the business owners. Now, I know of a lot of business owners that actually use these car parking spaces when there is ample car parking 100, 200 yards away. Absolute laziness. So again, I do get you. I totally agree with you, but we do not utilise the car parking spaces for customers. It's not something that is done. Have you ever drove down there and there's been empty car parking spaces? It very rarely happens. But again, on the charging of that and what we actually collect in revenue from the parking cost where there is cost, it doesn't show the fact that them spaces are full all the time. So I don't believe that the impact would be massive. And what I would like to see, if this were the case, is these businesses migrate towards the town centre where we want to develop it, where we want the town centre to be better and to be that hub. To have a mile of businesses stretched out along Linthorpe Road, it doesn't work with the town. It hasn't worked for a long time. And I think we see with a lot of these restaurants, they come and go very quickly. A lot of these takeaways come and go very quickly. We as a town need to provide something that's suitable in a suitable area, and that's part of the whole town centre strategy. And if we can encourage these businesses to come into the town and utilise our fantastic town centre and have something there that's suitable for them as well, I think that's a much better town centre strategy than having a town centre that's sprawled 1.5 miles up Linthorpe Road.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from non-exec members? Okay, looks like a no. So in that case, move straight to the vote. Are there any exec members who are against this this recommendation outlined in the report? Let me know. No, okay, it's good. Anybody on the exec who wants to abstain from the vote on these recommendations? Oh, okay, good, that's carried. Thank you very much. Then we're on to item number 6, which is local council tax support 2021-2022, and Councillor Chris Hobson is going to present a report for us to vote on.
Thank you, Chair. Council tax support scheme. From April 2013, the government replaced the National Council Tax Benefit Scheme with the new CTS scheme to be designed and administered by local authorities. This meant that residents whom had previously been required to pay nothing now had to pay at least 20% of their council tax. Middlesbrough scheme was approved by full council on the 9th of January 2013 and remained unaltered apart from some minor legislative changes until 2018-19, when the scheme was amended to bring regulations in line with the current housing benefit scheme, which whilst also increasing the amount of support provided to 85% for working age residents. This therefore meant residents claiming CTS had a minimum of 15% of their council tax to pay, as opposed to the previous 20% charge. The current CTS scheme is working well, with no challenges to regulations. Central government makes some slight changes to prescribed regulations between December and early February each year, which will be incorporated into the new scheme. Apart from these minor changes, it is not recommended to alter any other elements. I am asking that the executive approves the council tax support scheme for 2021-22 and authorises the report to be considered at the full council meeting on the 24th of February. Thank you, Chair.
Very much, Chris Hobson. That's great. Any exec members with questions on this presentation we just had? No. Any non-exec members present who would like to comment or ask questions about the presentation just given? Okay, great. Thank you. We'll go straight to the vote, which is, would anybody like to vote against the recommendations? Any exec members, that is. Okay, good. Thank you. Any exec members would like to abstain from this vote? No. Okay, good. That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 7 is part of a report for noting purposes only. It's the land adjacent to the former Middlesbrough warehouse site, South Bank Road. It's the disposal. We're looking at part A here, and I think Councillor Hobson is to represent this. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, this is land adjacent to the former Middlesbrough warehouse site on South Bank Road, James Street, North Ormsby, and this is about the disposal of and part A of the report. The purpose of this report is to consider the proposal to dispose of the council's freehold interest in land adjacent to the former Middlesbrough warehouse site. Marketing commenced in early September with a very healthy interest in the site, which resulted in 9 offers being submitted by the closing date, and these are outlined in Part B of the report. I am asking that the information contained in Part A of this report be noted, and that the decision of Part B of the report be considered once the exempt information has been considered. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. It was nice and clear. Any exec members would like to raise a point or ask any questions on this? Any of the members who are not exec members like to raise any questions or comments? Okay, so I think we just note this now, that we note the content of Councillor Hobson's presentation. Thank you for that. Is any other urgent items which I deem to be relevant? And I know Janet Thompson's already flagged an issue. If there are any others, we'll come to them after Janet. Janet, if you'd like to go ahead with your issue, your point.
Thank you, Chair. I feel I need to point out that the work of the OSB and scrutiny is a legal requirement. Its purpose is to hold the executive to account. It is also an important way for all members to be able to influence decisions. There's a danger that if the work of scrutiny is not seen to be taken seriously by the exec members, the process will lose credibility in the eyes of the backbenchers. I would remind you that scrutiny is cross-party and non-political. When decisions are made by the executive, they need to understand that some members question those decisions and have a right under our constitution to do so. When a decision is made to call in an issue passed by the exec, this is always done after careful consideration. This is also done with the advice and support of staff in democratic services and legal. Since I became chair of OSB, the call-ins that I have been involved in, referring back to the exec for further consideration, has left the members involved feeling that serious consideration has not been given and that the issue deserved. I myself have witnessed occasions when a call-in has not even been debated by executive members. I hope you will give my comments serious consideration and in doing so, reassure all members that their work is given the attention it deserves. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Janet. I think you're right. I think scrutiny in any field and of any kind is always healthy. Sometimes there are disagreements about the form of it and the way it's handled, and I suppose it's not surprising that sometimes differences of opinion here. But I agree. I think nobody here would disagree that it's scrutinising decision making and decision makers in the process. Absolutely. I think we do debate call-ins. We regularly meet as a group, formally and informally, and we do debate call-ins and our perception of the reasons behind them and our views raised, and sometimes we consider them to have some merit, and sometimes we think they and others may disagree. But I take your point entirely. Thank you for that. And I would stress that I genuinely don't think anybody on this call would agree with it. The scrutiny of decisions and decision makers is a very important thing. Thank you. Anyone else like to comment on Councillor Thompson's statement, comments? Okay, good. Anyone else want me to consider anything urgent that to raise? That's good. That concludes the first part of this. We now go to a section that has to sadly exclude any members of the press or the public because we're discussing things of a confidential nature, which can be released. The information can be released at some point, but right now it may impact negatively on things that are happening if we do discuss some things in private. So the video will go off now, I think, and there'll be a continuance of the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, just advice, I think the resolution needs to be passed.
Sorry, a resolution?
I think so, Chair.
Yeah.
Advice from
Oh,
Chair.
see, okay, you know what, I should have read, shouldn't I? So it's in front of me. We passed a resolution to go into a private session and exclude the press and the public for consideration of the following items. There's the, do I name them or do I not name them?
You can name it as it's in that sheet.
Okay, so we're gonna discuss in private more information on the land next to the former Middlesbrough warehouse site at South Bank Road and project funding of a couple of separate projects. Can we pass that resolution, or the exec members agree to that?
Thank you, Chair.
That's great, thank you.
I'll advise when the YouTube stream is finished.